Auburn's offensive line is making progress through 2 games, but have they come far enough? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Pour. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us on, turn us up. We'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, Jacob Goins. Time to get going. We're getting to going. It's a Thursday morning. On today's show, we're talking about the Auburn offense, more specifically the offensive line. Have they come far enough when Auburn has been able to field a decent offensive line? Jacob, it's been gangbusters for their offense. But let's start at the top. In the second half of the show, we'll talk about the larger implications of having that offensive line play at a championship level. Hugh Freeze on Monday said that he felt like he was not happy with the amount of times Ball State was able to get to Jackson Arnold. Now, before we started recording, you noted that Auburn had an offensive line that graded very, very well. Offensive linemen that graded very, very well. What's your take on this offensive line and where they're at in Hugh Freeze's third year on the Plains? It's apparent that they're better, but have they come far enough?
Yeah, it's apparent that they're better, and it's apparent that they are the best unit that Auburn has had, my goodness, since, I don't know, 2019, maybe 2017. I mean, you're talking about some long stretches in there of the offensive line that just simply weren't good. Or, I mean, the last good offensive line that Auburn had was probably 13 or 14, Mike. I mean, it really has been that long, because we know Gus Malzahn quit recruiting offensive linemen. Brian Harsin just didn't recruit at all. And we knew it was going to take some time for Hugh Freeze to get some dudes in the door. And it's funny because this offensive line is a mixture of high school recruits and transfer portal guys. Your two guys on the outside, and Mason Murphy and Xavier Chaplin, are transfer portal guys. You have USC and Virginia Tech. You've got your high school recruit with Connor Lew in the middle. And so I think it's much better. And it's the best one that Auburn has had and that we've seen at Auburn in quite some time. But I'm still not happy with where it is yet. I think they did a good enough job against Baylor, especially since Auburn decided to run the ball. But when a team loads up and comes after Jackson Arnold, I mean, Ball State was getting home, Mike, and that's not cool. That's not good. And this upcoming weekend against South Alabama, they're going to come after Jackson Arnold, and you can't afford for them to get home. And so if Ball State could do it and South Alabama can do it, what do you think Oklahoma's going to do? What do you think Texas A&M, Georgia is going to do when Auburn has to line up and go against SEC-level defenses? I think Jackson Arnold got sacked, 5 times on Saturday? That's not good enough. That's not a good number, not something to be proud of. But weirdly enough, when they've needed to step up, they have. And so I think it's a work in progress. I think it's an offensive line that has some talent on it. And then I think Tutal Miller has come in after losing his starting spot and has looked really, really good, better than he ever has. But yeah, you mentioned what I was talking about, the fact that Xavier Chaplin, according to PFF, Pro Football Focus, he rated out as one of the highest rated offensive linemen in the country last week. And I don't know if I'm ready to go quite that far, but the unit has to get better as a whole. That's in the run game and especially in the passing game, because I know Auburn fans are looking for Auburn to throw the ball, and they're going to have to moving forward, and the offensive line's got to be able to protect Jackson Arnold.
Jacob, how much of this was just the emphasis that Hugh Freeze put on trying to be more balanced here? They could have run the ball down Ball State's throat if they wanted to, but sure, Hugh Freeze wanted to go out and maybe put something on tape to evaluate for his offense, because you didn't really get that in week 1 versus Baylor. That was a win Auburn had to get, and the run game was working, and they didn't need the pass, so they didn't really try to pass it. A 75-25 split tells me something was working extremely good on one end and the other wasn't needed. So Auburn just ran the ball down Baylor's throat. Now, I don't want to overlook South Alabama, because they are going to be a tougher test than Ball State was. However, yes, Oklahoma has the horses defensively to force Auburn to be more balanced or pay the price here. So you got to figure some things out this week before you get to Oklahoma, I think. I just wonder how much of what we saw in terms of the sacks were just Hugh Freeze trying to force the issue with the pass to get something on tape to grade his quarterback on.
Yeah, and my co-host Christian Griffin said the other day on our show on ESPN 106.7, he said he thinks that Jackson Arnold was told to stay in the pocket this game against Ball State, not
Yeah.
to take off and run and try to make any crazy plays or go and get hit on a 3rd and long or get hit on a blind side. You know what I mean? Like, he was saying maybe Jackson was told, hey, let's just stay in the pocket. Let's go through the projections. Let's go through the reads, and let's see what's there in throwing the football. I mean, we heard Hugh Freeze say in the post-game press conference, I believe, that they only had one called quarterback run,
Yep.
and it was for Deuce Knight. It wasn't even for Jackson Arnold, right? And so they absolutely went into that game with the mindset and the game plan of, hey, we're going to throw the football around, because they didn't have to against Baylor, and maybe whether they could or they couldn't, it didn't matter, because they were getting 7 yards a carry, and we talked about how refreshing it was to see Hugh Freeze grow up and learn and run the football, right? So yeah, they absolutely wanted to throw the ball around a little bit against Ball State. But here's the thing, Mike. Auburn wasn't throwing 40-yard deep balls to Cam Coleman down the sideline one-on-one. They weren't throwing it to Eric Singleton in the corner of the end zone and making him go get it. They weren't throwing 50-50 balls to Perry Thompson over the middle and hoping that he came up with it. Ball State played so far off, as did Baylor, because they were so scared of Auburn doing those things that I just said. Auburn took the 6-8 yard checkdowns. They took the little out routes. They took the screen passes. They took the little just step out routes. Like, they weren't worried about throwing 30 yards downfield because Ball State wasn't going to give it to them, so Auburn didn't force the issue. That's the bigger thing for me, is through 2 games, Auburn has won the football game in 2 different ways offensively, and I think you're going to have to do that again this weekend against South Alabama, and then you start looking ahead to next week against Oklahoma. What is Brent Venables going to do? Is he going to stack the box, rush 6 or 7, get after the quarterback, and try to win one-on-ones on the outside, or does he only bring 3 or 4, and does he throw double teams everywhere and make Auburn decide what they want to do? We have no idea. We're going to have to wait and see, but that's why this weekend against South Alabama, I think it's important for Auburn to continue to grow in the ways you win on offense, and we'll see what South Alabama throws at them defensively as well.
To your point, Jackson Arnold, only 2 passes of 20 yards or more against Ball State. One of those was complete. That was the touchdown to Eric Singleton Jr. on the wheelish looking route there. There was one over the deep middle to Malcolm Simmons that came up a little short. That was incomplete. But those are the only 2 passes that Auburn made of 20 yards or more on Saturday against the Cardinals. I did want to note, though, from 20 yards in, Jackson Arnold almost perfect. Listen, he was 24 of 28 on the day. According to PFF, only 1 incompletion of 10 yards or less. So my guy was out there doing the Lord's work here in the passing game. Auburn has got to continue to figure out how to make the pass game dangerous. Now, before we move on, there was an emphasis on getting the ball to Cam Coleman. And to your point, like I said, they're kind of taking what's there. So it wasn't like they were throwing deep routes a bunch in this game, waiting on those plays to develop. But Ball State was still able to get to Jackson Arnold somewhat. Talk to me about Cam Coleman and the emphasis on getting him the ball, because we saw this happen late in season last year where they were definitely running their please don't transfer Cam offense. And look, man, it worked. Look, he got a ton of yards and catches and touchdowns over the last 3 or 4 games. He's got to be a star from the start of SEC play if Auburn is going to win football games, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be the focal point on the offense, but I'll go back to what I said in the offseason is if we're talking about him being the focal point of the offense, every defensive coordinator on Auburn's schedule is talking about him being the focal point of the offense. So they're going to have 8 circled on their depth chart. They know who Cam Coleman is. I still think he's good enough to win one-on-one battles. I still think he's a good enough route runner to get open against even the best corners and DBs in the SEC that he's going to go up against. But that's why you have to get guys like Eric Singleton and Perry Thompson and all these other guys, right, involved in the passing game because Cam Coleman's going to have the best DB on him every game. Again, I think he's still good enough to get open and make an impact. But who else can step up if the safety comes over and doubles Cam? Okay, cool. You've got Singleton on a one-on-one on the outside. All right, cool. You're at the 15-yard line. We want to throw a back shoulder fade to Cam Coleman. Well, can't do that, but hey, there's Perry Thompson over there. Let's throw it to him instead. That's what Auburn has to figure out. That's what Auburn has to do. And then eventually, Cam Coleman's just too good. You can't keep the football out of his hands. He'll be an impact for Auburn down the stretch.
Yeah, look, he was playing with a certain nastiness and edge on Saturday that you hope follows him to South Alabama and then eventually to Oklahoma. What are the larger implications of this offensive line playing at a championship level for Auburn as their aspirations for the season are going up here week by week? We'll talk about that right after a quick word from our sponsors, our friends at Amen Associates. At Abel's Iron Moore and Associates, it's not just about numbers on a page. It's about families' futures and making sure your hard work lasts for generations. Whether you're saving for your kids' college, planning for retirement, or thinking about how to pass on your legacy, they take the time to understand what matters most to you. The team at Amen Associates knows the value of building something lasting and approaches every client relationship with care and dedication. Call 912-777-4128 or visit AIMAINC.com to create your tomorrow today. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's I Know More and Associates for this endorsement. Amen Associates is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. I want to thank our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. Need a smoke shop that's always close by? Sky Tobacco and Vape has you covered all over Columbus and even across the bridge in Phoenix City. Whether you're cruising down Airport Thruway or rolling along Victory Drive or making a pit stop on the 280 bypass, we've got a spot ready for you. From vapes to tobacco and everything in between, Sky Tobacco and Vape is your one-stop shop for good vibes and great deals. Swing through today. Chances are we're already on your way. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Long-time sponsors of the show, our guy Richard, put a little something extra in there for everybody using code REPORT today. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank our friends at Sets for Society. Visit setsforsociety.ai to get started on your road to knowing self better. Want to be a better teammate, a better coworker, a better partner? Maybe you just got a project coming up and you want to figure out how your team can best work together to solve a problem or accomplish a like goal. Setsforsociety.ai has custom personality assessments that can help you achieve just that. Visit setsforsociety.ai to get your custom personality assessment started today. Jumping back in here, larger implications for the offensive line and the pass game. Look, man, I think back to years like 2010 where everyone knew Auburn was going to run the ball with Cam, and they just did it anyway, and it worked every single game. The only team that came close to stopping them offensively was Alabama. That lasted for about a quarter and a half before Cam went nuts, and then it didn't work. He was different, but part of the reason why he chose Auburn was a senior, experienced offensive line. Now, when Cam left, remember Russell Wilson was looking to transfer from NC State, and he chose Wisconsin because Auburn's whole line was gone. And man, I am always bitter about Russell Wilson not coming up behind Cam Newton. That would have been an epic back-to-back quarterback tandem there. But Auburn, when they've been able to find an offensive line that can block 2013, 2017, it has been the results have been fantastic. Does Auburn have that kind of line? Do they have a championship run kind of offensive line in them this year? It looks like they could. Now, last year, they helped produce the second leading rusher in the conference in Jarquez Hunter. It looks like they haven't slowed down in run blocking, but pass protection is going to be the key here, I think, to Auburn kind of unlocking that next level of offensive accomplishment.
Well, I go back to what Hugh Freeze talked about in the preseason, and a nugget that he dropped, It may have been in his opening presser of fall practice when he said that they had an NFL scout come into the building and grade all 6 of their offensive linemen, the 5 starters, and then Tutal Miller. And apparently, the NFL scout graded all of the 6 guys as NFL talented type of guys, that they had what it takes to play on the offensive line in the National Football League, which I don't know if I totally agree with yet. I think there's absolutely a way for that to happen, and that gets me into what you were kind of saying as well, where I think this offensive line could get to a spot that is one of the best units in the SEC. I incorrectly predicted that to be the case last year. I thought Auburn's offensive line was going to be a top 5 unit a year ago. It clearly was not, since you had to go and get 2 starters in the transfer portal. But I think now it could get there. And I'm with you. I think run blocking has been good. I think it's been solid. I think it's done its job. You've just got to find a way to protect Jackson Arnold in these situations and in these games where he's going to have to drop back and throw the ball 35, 40 times. Sorry, it's just how it's going to go. Georgia's going to stack the box and not let you run. Texas A&M may do the same thing. Alabama could do that too. Like, there are teams on this schedule, Mike, that are not going to let Auburn use a 3-headed snake at running back and just gash them for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. And Jackson Arnold is going to have the time to either make a throw or take off down the field and not get hit from behind or the side or whatever. So is the offensive line there yet? No, but I absolutely think it could get there. And if it does, Auburn's going to win some football games this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Look, Jackson Arnold has the ability to make things happen with his legs. I know that offensive line has to like that, at least some, that they have a quarterback that can bail them out on maybe some broken protections. But also, there's something to be said for a quarterback that stays in the pocket and makes it a little bit easier on you to protect him. Look, man, I know some guys who played with Michael Vick, and they used to talk about how great it was that he could make something out of nothing, but how hard it was at times because he would just stay in the damn pocket, Jacob. And so, they would get holding calls and they would be out of place because Vic was all over the place at times. So, your athleticism could work against you at some point if you cannot know when to run and when to stay in the pocket. How do you evaluate Jackson Arnold's ability to be able to tell the difference between when to run and when to stay right now?
I think that just comes with trust, honestly. I mean, it just comes with trust. It comes with experience. And look, the deeper you get into this season, especially in SEC play against much better talent on the defensive line, you will find if that trust is there or not. And that simply comes from Jackson Arnold dropping back, like I said, 30, 35, 40 times, and knowing that his offensive line is going to protect him, knowing that Oklahoma's defense can't get there, knowing that Texas A&M isn't constantly running off the edge, getting around your tackles, or just blowing up the center, or whatever the case may be. That is a comfortability and a confidence and a trust that simply comes with time. And it may not be until the Kentucky game, right, that Jackson Arnold truly gets to that point to where he's not just like Bo Nix, who as soon as something went wrong, boom, Bo was gone. Now, Bo didn't really have an option because it was like that with his offensive line, but you're hoping it's a little bit better with Jackson Arnold, and you want him to run when necessary. You want him to make a play when he has to and extend a play if it's what Auburn needs. But that doesn't need to be Jackson's go-to response like it was for Bo Nix. He needs to have the confidence to sit in the pocket, deliver a good ball, wait for something to develop, or simply let one of your offensive playmakers, your wide receivers, make a play, come up with something. Oh, the route didn't work. Oh, my quarterback's still back there. Okay, let me come back to the ball. Let me do an extra move. Let me get open somehow. And all of that, Mike, is going to come with time. It's going to come with reps. It's going to come with performance. And if Auburn can get that in the first couple of games of SEC play, then I think you could see all that come together.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. Look, it's going to be interesting. I'll be in the booth for South Alabama this weekend. Jacob, I want to thank you for joining me today. As always, before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can tune into On the Line each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time on ESPN 106.7. If you're in the Auburn Opelika area, or tune in on our website at espnau.com.
Guys, that's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights, and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The summer's here for now, but you want to get outside this fall when the weather gets good and be with your family outside by the grill, getting in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights, or just eating good on a Golden's Cast Iron Kamado. goldenscastiron.com/WR. Get your Golden's product today. Also want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. Get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Guys, we want to hear from you. What do you think about this Auburn offensive line? Have they arrived? Do they have miles to go? Well, hit the comments after the video. Let us know what you think. And while you're there, do us a favor. Smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW4 on TikTok. Signing off, and as always, War Eagle.